This spotlight is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank.
You're watching Spotlight, and joining me now from the Chicago Sinfonietta is Blake Anthony Johnson, and so nice to welcome you back to the set.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, last year we were both celebrating our 35th anniversary. This year's your 36th season, so let's get a few highlights. Let's talk about the theme, what's going on.
So the theme of our season is Resonate, and really what we're striving to do is be an orchestra and be in service to everyone in Chicago. And so you'll see new programs, you'll see a lot of new guest artists, but really the idea is just to keep people on their toes and really reimagine what they think of when they think of a symphonic experience.
Okay, all right, that's kind of cool, right? Now you have been always performing, or for a long time performed at the Wentz right here in Naperville. Mm-hmm. But you've also always performed as well in Chicago, but you've recently moved where you're located. So where are you and why is that important?
So this is for the best of reasons. We've essentially grown out of our home. So we've doubled in size in my tenure. So this is actually my 5th season with the Chicago Sinfonietta.
Seems like yesterday, right?
I know, time is going by so fast, but it's a great team and we have a great roster of musicians. And obviously my partner, Mayan Chen, our music director, is also just fantastic. So essentially what this means is we'll have our home at Wentz Concert Hall, but we also have the new concert hall as a resident orchestra and auditorium theater. So it's, yeah, this is great. That building was really meant to be the first place for Chicagoans to experience art. And so it's very much in our, our mission of really being in service to all. So it's a great home and we're really looking forward for people to see the re-rigged stage. It's gonna look really different than what they've seen in the past, but it has an amazing history. It's a Louis Sullivan and Outler building. So there's just a lot of history there. And obviously given the Sinfonietta's history, we're just really excited that we'll be able to reach more people.
Okay. And when are you gonna be there? When's the first concert?
Yeah, so our opening night is actually here in Naperville first, October 4th, and then our opening night in the new concert hall is October 7th.
Okay, that's exciting. October's going to be a big month.
Yes.
Now remind us, because I think it's important for people, we talk about a sinfonetta. What's a sinfonetta, and just kind of why is that different than an orchestra per se?
I always joke, so orchestra, philharmonic, symphony, they're interchangeable in some ways, but historically it's the size. So this idea that the Sinfonietta is a smaller symphonic ensemble that is really more nimble. So you'll see we commission a lot of pieces, a lot of female composers get commissioned by us, a lot of BIPOC composers get commissioned by us, but we are able to do pieces that large orchestras it wouldn't make sense because they need to utilize 111 players. And for us, we can choose how big we are. So we're 73 kind of set tenured players, and then we have, of course, a roster of musicians that help us for like opening night, which is smaller one. So you're going to see a lot of musicians on stage.
Okay, that's good, and I think that's a good little bit of education for all of us, right? So now you have a lot of interesting programs. One of them is your artist in residence, and we've talked about that before. And I love Peter Cottontail, which I can say that name at least 3 times because it's just a fantastic name. But he's a Grammy Award-winning artist. He's going to be the artist in residence with you. Say a little bit about what he's going to be doing and what that means for the Sinfonietta to have an artist in residence.
The goal always, I think, when we're talking about creating art is to have as many voices at the table as possible so we can reach as many people as possible. And I think when you think of an orchestra, you should really think of it as a tool. We do not specialize in classical music, we specialize in symphonic music. And so having someone like Peter Cottontail, who's he manages and produces Chance the Rapper and Yeba and Third Story, like he's connected to this larger group of artists and genres that we want to incorporate in our season. And what we're hoping is to demystify a little bit of what orchestras actually can do and do on a regular basis. We do tons of genre bending performances, and Peter Cottontail, I think, as an amazing artistic collaborator, will push us to do even more. So, expect, a few stars to come join us every once in a while, but also just he has a breadth of work that we're really excited to incorporate.
So I would imagine, with this artist in residence, and particularly given you're trying to really press out a little bit with a genre, a couple of things would happen, right? One would be that you would invite a different audience to maybe come experience the Sinfonietta. But I also imagine it's got to be fun and different for those 73 musicians, right?
Absolutely, because there's a lot of plug and play, if you will. We workshop a lot of pieces that the artist in residence is thinking about. We come up with really creative projects that they are really interested in, and they get real feedback. It's really rare for an artist, and especially a composer, to actually talk to an orchestra and say, what about my writing works? What doesn't? What can I do better? And so it's a learning curve for both parties. And I love it because it really demystifies what drives art, which is people. It's just people.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And I do love that because I often wonder, like, if you were sitting in the audience and you hear your composition, not that I will ever have that experience, played, that's got to be an incredible thing. But then to actually hear what the musicians thought about it, was it easy, was it hard, was it difficult, all of that.
And it might be simple things, for our last artist in residence, the concertmaster said, hey, this would be awesome if it was in a different key for these 20 reasons. And she said, I can do that. And so just simple things like that, it gives a lot of space to grow together.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. I like the, you've talked a lot, and I think this is an important component of the work that you're doing, is this notion of inclusion and all voices at the table. And I think having that safe space to be able to provide feedback back and forth, right?
I'm glad you said this because, our mission statement is championing equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging by creating community through both symphonic experiences. And the focus really, obviously we want everything to be an experience, but that belonging piece is really important too. This idea that we don't just have a new composer come and we play their piece and then we say, okay, goodbye. Yeah. The Artist in Residence program really allows us to say, this is your home now, this concert hall is your home, this orchestra is your home, what can we create together? And I would say most amazing pieces that people hear come from that type of dynamic.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I'm not sure how people would think. I think before you talked about it, I would think of an artist in residence just kind of almost like a guest, right?
Yeah.
Just a guest here and you're going to play and it's going to be cool. But that's a very different experience, the one you're describing.
Especially, this season, a lot of what we're focusing on is immersion of new technology, immersion of new genres. So for instance, this last weekend, we had our music director, May Yin, and our artist in residence, Peter Cottontail, get holograms made of them because you'll see some surprises this season of how do you deal with augmented reality and 360 and really using technology in creative ways. So when I say we do projects, everything from education programs to teach kids how to compose new works, but also some crazy things that we have lined up.
That's wonderful. Now, as we wrap up, Blake Anthony, you have been honored. I mean, let's just call it what it is. You've been really honored for a lot of the work that you've been doing recently of 4 under 40. I know there's lots of pieces around that, but 4 under 40. And I know that that's important. It's important, but I think for you, it's important for the orchestras. So just as we close out, talk a little bit about that because they're great honors and congratulations on those. But what does it mean to you and for the orchestra?
I appreciate that. I remind people I'm really the figurehead of a much larger community and kind of army of amazing talent. And so though I love the recognition because obviously there is a particular role that I play, I think what I've enjoyed most about this is it really shows people that you can have rigor, you can have innovation, you can have growth that's double the size of our original blueprint and imprint, and it be done in a way that's still loving, that's still inclusive, that still has diverse voices at the table. And so though I am really proud of what we've done, even more recently, we won the Dunn Award. We're the only orchestra in the world that has programming that's 50% female representation on a regular basis. So I'm really proud of those things, but I'm really proud of how it's done. People really do feel like the Sinfonietta is theirs, no matter if they're in Chicago or if they're in Japan or if they're in Oregon. So that part I think is I'm really happy about the team's work and just due diligence and doing it the right way, which is, it takes a lot more time and patience.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, and I love how you're the only one to have that because women are 50% of the population, so it's lovely that we're represented in that way. So well done to you all. We're excited for your 36th season, and we wish you all the best with that. Peter Cottontail, I mean, you've got amazing musicians and a wonderful place to play here with Wentz Hall at North Central College.
Thank you so much for highlighting the work, guys. We're happy to be here.
Absolutely. And if you are interested in learning more about the Chicago Sinfonietta, please go and visit their website. We're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We're coming right back with more Spotlight.
This Spotlight is brought to you by presenting sponsor, Busey Bank.